a lot of games take on space travel and distant futures and all that kind of stuff, but none with the scope of Civilization Beyond Earth, building a new life on a new world, and now having to contend with whole new environmental factors in the first expansion. Will Miller and David McDonough, co-lead designers, you guys, welcome to the stage. Good to see you again.
Chris, it's great to see you.
So fun to talk to you guys about Civ because you're like this dynamic duo that just like ideas like spring out of your heads all the time, and I think the first expansion, Rising Tide, you guys are really getting to harness some of the more out there ideas and bring them into practice.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got from our fans was that while Beyond Earth was great, it didn't quite go far enough in terms of pushing the sci-fi or these interesting mechanics that we'd introduced to Civ. And it was sort of permission for us as designers to really open up, to throttle up on this idea of Beyond Earth. It's a huge expansion. There are tons of new features, from the new diplomacy system, being able to land on water and colonize the oceans of the planet, hybrid affinities, 4 new factions, 2 new biomes. It's immense. It's huge.
Man, you just gave us the rundown right there, but
Right
we got to start with water. Water has always been, you know, strategically important as kind of a barrier, a place to traverse, and in Beyond Earth, a trade route.
Right.
But being able to colonize water, to now claim territory, there's a lot of implications to being able to do that.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's one of the things that we're really excited about in Rising Tide is that the stuff that we're putting in isn't just like a mid-game or late game or early game adjustment. These things affect the whole game, from turn 1 to victory. Even if you don't ever settle on the sea, the fact that it's there and that other people can, it changes everything. So we were really excited about how water gameplay works, how much of a huge game changer it is. Like you can see here in the demo, the art team has done an absolutely fabulous job bringing this environment to life. And it's been a lot of fun for us as designers to really think outside the box, like you were saying, think those more out there ideas about what would it even mean if you could build a city at sea? The city could float. Now the cities, the big idea is that the cities move. They travel around the oceans of the planet. They can like be part of a navy, and they can act as invaders. They are floating fortresses, or the way that they claim territory, the kind of life, the alien life that you find at the sea, and how different it is than the stuff that's on land. So everything is different when the seas kind of open up. And there's no barrier to entry. It's not like hard to do. From turn 1, you can drive your colonist right off the coastline and start out at sea. In fact, of the 4 new factions that we're adding to the game, 2 of them start at sea anyway. They planetfall there.
Oh, really?
So water is a huge deal. It changes, in small and large, so much about how the game plays.
It's just, honestly, it is intimidating to think about how much stuff you guys probably had to tackle in terms of how this just recontextualizes so much about expansion, about settlement, about the tech web. Let's talk about technology a little bit, because with the expansion and with all the new sort of stuff you can tackle, it's got to be some new tech on offer, right?
Well, we've gone back into the tech web and really done some fine-tuning there. And if you'll recall from the base game, there's this concept of affinity, the way that your civilization adapts to life on the new world. And there are 3 different types of affinities that you can devote yourselves to: harmony, purity, and supremacy. And one of the features of the expansion is the ability to multi-class.
Right.
Borrowing some terminology from RPGs here, you want to be able to hybridize your approach to that problem.
Huh.
So that comes along with a lot of new units that you can unlock, new hybrid units, and upgrades for your base units as well. So that's a huge new addition to the tech tree and to your military as well.
Yeah.
Just one thing to clarify real quick, because we do see now a submersible cruising around underneath whatever unit that was.
That was the Explorer.
The Explorer.
Yep.
So that Explorer was sending a unit down to do an excavation of some kind, but there is the water and like below water, it's all one layer still.
Yeah. It's designed to be seamless with land. So just like land has got, hills and mountains, things that get in your way and that make the terrain more interesting, water has levels of depth. Mm-hmm. And it's not a separate layer like the orbital layer. It's designed to be all part of a seamless play surface. There should be no distinction, no trouble in a player just playing hybrid back and forth across land and sea. Any combination is equally powerful. You can win a game of Beyond Earth Rising Tide without ever setting foot on land.
Without ever setting foot on land? That's crazy.
I mean, it would be hard. You probably
sure.
Maybe a couple times you ought to, but you can do it.
You can do it. But this is not to say that the rules are the same. So here we're seeing one of the progress, sort of the speed bumps you're going to run into in the ocean. This is the hydrocoral, these giant alien things that you're going to have to contend with on the ocean. So we want to settle
Those
here.
things are nasty looking.
But they're sort of like mountains. They won't hurt you if you don't try to fight them, but they will get in your way. And if you leave them alone, they'll grow to fill a lot of space in the ocean. So you have to prune them. You'll see some of the new units we've added here. This is the submarine. You can attack from a distance, so we can make room. But there are a slew of new units, new resources. The resource distribution is a lot different. And I think everything is a lot faster on the ocean. So you can gain territory faster, but you can also lose it just as fast. So it's as David said, seamless to play from land to water, but it's also much different. The characterization is much different.
I'm just really enjoying the like barnacle-y, tentacly look of these creatures. But of course, one of the things I really liked about Beyond Earth was how alien life sort of transformed the early game in a way and made it, they're not barbarians. Right. They are much more strategically complex. They are a much bigger part of your early to mid-game strategy in terms of how you're going to deal with them, how they're going to impinge on you, and you guys are bringing a whole new slew of water creatures.
Sure, yeah. I mean, here you can see, like, there's a couple of amphibious creatures, those big, like, crab-looking things, and then a couple of really fast, kind of vicious little aliens on the sea, and then those big hydrocoral. There's alien nests at sea. They've got a whole ecosystem, a whole AI sort of set of how they live and move and grow at sea. So every bit is as dynamic as they were on land. And then, of course, we've gone back and made the land ones a bit better, too. Like, they've got to be at parity.
Yeah, there's some new biomes coming as well.
There definitely are.
But I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about diplomacy, because diplomacy always been part of Civilization, but when we've talked about this expansion, you guys have sort of talked about basically reimagining diplomacy entirely and trying to make it more dynamic.
Yeah, and I'd say what we wanted to do was make a game out of diplomacy, because it was very lightweight in Civ 5, and I think it worked in Civ 5 because of the historical personalities that were there. But in Beyond Earth, since our characters are imagined, it didn't really work. It fell flat. So we took out the Civ 5 diplomacy from Beyond Earth base game, and we put in a brand new system. And I think there are three components to this that are important. The first is that we wanted to make a progression out of the personality of your character. So you, as a player, actually build your character's personality from parts. And the AIs are doing this as well. So you can see how their personalities are evolving over the course of the game. The second thing we wanted to do is model the relationship that you have with AI civs. And this is done with values of fear and respect. So it's sort of Machiavellian. It's really interesting.
It's a lot of fun.
And finally, pick one.
Pick one, right?
Both.
So we also wanted the players to be able to.
It can't be both. Sorry.
Right. If you fear me a lot or if you respect me a lot, either way I get what I want.
Okay.
And we also wanted the players to be able to exchange power in a way that they haven't before. The personality traits give you these really interesting sort of game-breaking rule changes to your Civ. And using a new currency called diplomatic capital, you can make agreements with other civs to harness their power as well. So it's not just trading resources, and it's not just declaring war or peace anymore. It's really an involved and intricate system.
It's not just the favor, one for one kind of deal.
We sort of tipped our toe a little bit with the favors idea. Like, the idea was, what if we could put the tools to manipulate the AI there in front of you? And favors was just a touch of that. There was a lot more potential there. So from humble beginnings, the new diplomacy system was grown. Yeah.
Very interesting. And yeah, just sort of diplomacy is something that, as a Civ player, I like dabble in every, dozen turns. Maybe I'll check in with people, maybe not even that. You guys, this is making it more active because those traits you were talking about, those are like concrete things that you are seeing and clicking on. It's not like I feel more aggressive, so I'm going to build more military units. It's making this conscious choice to put that in there.
Yeah. The composition of your Civ is something you actively participate in crafting. And it also sort of simplifies the things that the AI cares about, but also makes it care about those things a lot more. So you can strategize around what the AI might do. So if you're an AI player in my game that likes trade a lot, you have a trait that says this, I know that if I make trade routes with you, you're going to like me more. Your respect for me is going to go up. So it lets us work around that problem of AIs doing things that don't make sense. It's like, I made this deal, but he rejected it. Why? This is a problem that goes back to Civ 5, too. This would happen all the time.
Sure.
But by making the rule set clearer, bringing it out in front of the player, we get that transparency and really make a game out of it. Sid likes to say the computer should never have more fun than the player. So we've taken a lot of those calculations and put them up front.
And it's interesting to sort of think about other realms of Civ, and a lot of resources and units. There's a lot of sort of tabulation and a lot of ways to sort of balance the sheets. And so now that's coming to diplomacy. Very intriguing. You mentioned a little bit earlier, David, but some new factions coming into play.
Yeah, we've got 4 new factions in the game. So far we've announced one, which is called Alphala. It's a Middle Eastern themed faction. And without going too much into their backstory, all of the new factions are designed to be somewhat more dangerous, somewhat more radical, both in their origins and in their play style. So we like it because it's another interpretation of the name of the game. Like, these people they're going to raise the stakes for everybody, like not just to play as, but to play against. When they land on the planet, they come with some pretty wild perspectives on what they're there to do, how they're going to play, and the powers that we've endowed them with, usually like heavily embedded in the new diplomacy system, make them real game changers. Like, they can bend some of the rules that would have been impossible before this expansion. So Alphala and their leader Arshia Kish, we're really excited about to announce heretofore, and there will be 3 more coming, 2 of which I can promise are aquatic themed. So to emphasize the aquatic gameplay, they will even planetfall at sea and start there.
Right on water. I like, you told me this sort of, one of the things that sort of the backstories, you know, crafting the stories behind the tech and behind these different factions is something you guys sort of relished in drawing from science fiction and all this stuff. The thing you told me was they didn't take a cryogenic ship. Like, they weren't frozen through space. It was a generation ship. Right. So I just think that, like, it's really fascinating the way you guys think of that lore stuff as well in sort of building out the whole Civ experience.
Yeah, that's that kind of like storytelling, like getting the player to think, oh wow, what would that really be like? We did that a lot kind of implicitly in BE, but Rising Tide has got a lot more on the surface. Like, we really want the story to be a big part of the game, to tell the tale of who these people are and make that an emotional sticking point for players.
And speaking of storytelling, one of the ways that Beyond Earth sort of cultivated that is through the quest system, you know, giving players these decisions to make where there wasn't, you know, the fate of their world was not hinging on it. It was little bonuses here or there, but narratively it allowed them to sort of build a picture of what kind of leader they were. Are you guys doing some more stuff with the quest system in Rising Tide?
Absolutely. The quest system has been expanded. The catalog of quests you can get has been expanded. We've added more variations to the quests that were in the base game as well. I think you're right. It gives the Civ player this window into what's going on in their civilization and gives them choices that they haven't been able to have in a traditional Civ experience before. One of the other new additions in the expansion is the artifact system, which we saw a little bit of in the demo. And this is a way for us to reward players for doing quests or for exploring the world by giving them objects. Either objects from old Earth or...
People love objects,
They love objects. Collecting things. People like collecting things. So you can get like a football or a Stradivarius or something like that from old Earth.
Yeah, you know, just two things of equal value.
Right.
Yard sale.
Right. Or you can find strange alien things, so learn a little bit more about the biology of the planet. You can also find relics from the mysterious progenitors, this race of intelligent beings that used to live on the world but now have left. And this is a great vehicle for us to tell more of the story of Beyond Earth and to make a system out of it. So you can cash these artifacts in for quick gain, or you can save them up into sets of 3 and cash them in for things like wonders and buildings that you couldn't have built otherwise. So it's a really simple system, but it lets us do a lot of storytelling and add value at the same time.
Right.
We've talked a lot about sort of the marquee things coming with Rising Tide, right? The new stuff, because that's the exciting stuff. But you guys have been at it with Beyond Earth with patches and updates and balance stuff ever since release. You know, so for players who are thinking like they sort of knew the lay of the land with Beyond Earth, Rising Tide isn't just changing, you know, it in big ways like colonizing water, etc., but also the game has evolved in a lot of small ways as well.
Yeah, if you haven't really checked in with Beyond Earth since its initial release, it's already a lot different. Like, we were listening to fan feedback right away, and they had lots of great ideas, lots of great things to say about what they liked, what they wanted more of, what they thought could be done better, and we did it all, and then some. So Rising Tide represents a very big step above what base BE was. And so if you're just coming to the series for the first time, or if you've been playing BE religiously since it came out, when you get this expansion, everything old will be new again. Like, it's going to be a whole new world to play in.
And when's that going down?
It's coming out this fall on PC, and Mac and Linux shortly to follow.
Fantastic. Will, David, thank you guys so much for coming on.
It's always a
Talking
pleasure.
the Rising Tide. Folks, getting out onto the water, that is going to be really cool. I can't wait. All right, next we're going to take a look at Ghost Recon Wildlands, a new game announced this week from Ubisoft. This look is brought to you by our friends at MSI.